Hey, today I am going to be talking about trauma and the different types of therapy that I combine to help people heal from traumatic experiences that are maladaptively stored in the neural network of the brain. So that's a different way of looking at it, but that is how I look at trauma and then the way it manifests in our lives. So I am trained in EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which has been around since the late 90s, is very heavily researched, and is a very effective therapy modality for healing from post-traumatic stress disorder. And as time has gone on, we have realized it's very helpful for many other types of mental health issues like anxiety, depression, and some of the things I'm going to be talking about to you shortly. Dissociation. Another type of therapy that I dovetail right on in with EMDR is called IFS, and that is internal family systems. And all that really means is looking at the various parts of ourselves, the different aspects, the different personality aspects. And IFS was invented or created by Richard Swartz, EMDR, Francine Shapiro. The other type of therapy is dialectic behavior therapy, which is skills that help regulate our emotions, and that's Marsha Linehan's work. And many other different types that I kind of blend all in. But what I really wanted to start teaching on these videos about is dissociation. And it's very common in all of us humans. We all do it, but it's very misunderstood or not recognized in the mental health field still, in my experience and in talking with some other people. So here's my little introduction to dissociation. It's a coping mechanism. It's a way for us to kind of escape in our brain what might be too intense right now, or even too boring right now. It can be fantasy land, it can be daydreaming, and I like to say it's on a continuum, dissociation. So very mild dissociation is like maybe you're driving to the store and you get to the store and you're like, wow, I don't even remember getting over here. I was so lost in thought. That's pretty mild. Lots of us do that. To way over here, more extreme, is actual different personalities that activate, and the other personalities of the person are unaware that that is happening. And back in the day, that was called multiple personality disorder. Now there's a diagnosis, DID, dissociative identity disorder. And then there's, again, different phases of it or levels of it. If someone has gone through trauma, whether it's from way back, frequently it's from childhood, very early childhood trauma, or even all the way up through the teens, often children learn to dissociate as a way to get out of whatever this trauma is that's happening. So if someone is having ongoing trauma like sexual abuse or emotional neglect or physical trauma, physical abuse, it is a very handy, if you will, strategy for the brain to go to keep the child safe in their own system. So the actual situation around them may not be safe at all, but in their mind, it's a way to keep their personhood, emotions safe, because I can just go over here. I kind of blank out, or I zone out, and I create another place in my mind that's better for me, more pleasant for me than the reality of what's happening right now. It's very complex. There's a lot to it, and each person is different. But here's the thing, that could happen way back in childhood, and then you could have a 40-year-old adult who suddenly, I call it going bye-bye. They could be okay and present and talking, and all of a sudden there's a shift. Sometimes you can just see the physical manifestation where the person withdraws, or it could be the other side of that. It could be the hyperarousal, the freaking out, or the anger, or the panic. You just see the person shift from one way of being into another. And sometimes that is that may not be the mood disorder, the medical model of, oh, well, you just got anxiety. Yeah, sometimes it is anxiety, but sometimes it's a part. It's a dissociative part. IFS, Internal Family Systems, has created a method for organizing those parts. It's important in working with somebody that has dissociation to help them identify who and what that part is, because it can be very empowering. And the goal is for all the parts of us to work well together, to integrate. It doesn't mean that the parts go away. Parts actually never go away, but that they act in a way that is more appropriate to the actual situation at hand. So if we're getting $100 reaction to a 5-cent problem, that could be an indication of something from the past getting activated, and it could be a personality part. Sometimes it's actually that little child is still carrying the story that happened, the emotions around it, and if they have never gotten a chance to discharge the story or that trauma in one way or another with a safe person, it gets activated again and again, almost like the trauma to that person is happening again. Internal Family Systems gives us a template for organizing them, and there are 3 categories in IFS. Exile parts, they're like the little ones that are holding it, the story. Manager parts are the ones that control things or try to make us look normal, or create an environment that's going to protect the exile parts. And then the third level is firefighter parts, and they are parts that really activate if the system of the person is in jeopardy. So firefighter parts can be the parts that are addicts, drink too much, engage in overspending, dangerous behavior, ragey behavior, or the other side, shut down, avoid, super scrolling all the time, getting lost in video games, getting lost in social media, and dissociation, where, okay, I'm out. So that's kind of a lot. I know that's a lot to digest and to process. There's a lot more to it, and I'm gonna try to break it down. And the next part my next video will be more specific into how we can access these parts and help them to discharge those stories that they're holding. Okay, I hope this helps explain maybe some overreactions you might have or underreactions that you might be noticing. Like, I don't even remember big chunks of time in your life. That can be an indicator that there's some dissociation going on. Again, we all dissociate, and it's a gentle, gentle process, understanding a little bit more of the parts and the purpose that they hold in our systems. Okay, bye.